Yeah, I did this piece, you know, it kind of comes to me and then I don't understand why it comes to me, but I used it because it's, The Owl and the Pussycat is something that I've always enjoyed, that little poem. And when I started to work on it, it's a monotype, I started to work on it, kind of developed with the Pussycats turning into lions, and it just developed from there. So that was why I did it.
So you added your own evolutionary theme to it. Well, that's
Right,
pretty interesting.
Absolutely.
And the Owl and the Pussycat went to sea. I don't remember
In a
that.
beautiful pea green boat. They took some honey and plenty of money wrapped up in a 5-pound note.
Well, I can see you've studied this intensely, and here comes a pussycat.
Pussy. Oh, Pussy, my love. What a beautiful pussy you are.
Well, who wrote that? Do you know?
Oh, gosh, I don't really.
Oh, neither do I.
I don't remember, no.
Okay, but I mean, you turned a bit of whimsy into a major piece here. Apparently, is there anything else going on in it, a moral to the story, or is it just sort of descriptive?
Really. No, it's just what you see is what you get. I don't include features in any of the faces or any of the people that I do, and I don't know why. I just don't feel like I want to give them any expression of any kind. They're there.
How do they work? How do your ideas work themselves into your consciousness, then, into your waking consciousness?
That's a hard question. They just seem to appear. I don't have a set formula. This is what I'm going to do today. Sometimes I just kind of fish around, and all of a sudden it will come to me, and I work on it. And it gets changed many times.
Are you likely to draft it out first in a pencil sketch?
I do sometimes, and I start with an idea, and then if I can't really get that idea down on paper, then I will take a pencil to it, and I will start to draw it out. So, well, I think I actually started using water-based inks, and then I started to get very dark in the images I was creating, and I found that the blacks in the water-based inks weren't nearly velvety and black enough. So I switched over and bought the oil-based inks. I've been using them ever since, but I think I'd like to go back to the water-based simply because the cleanup is a lot easier. You don't have to soak your paper when you're using the water-based inks. When I use oil-based inks, I have to soak the paper and have a certain dampness to be able to put it on the plate, plexiglass plate. And a lot of times if you're putting that image on, if you're repainting the image on the plexiglass and putting your paper back on, you have to soak it again. And then it can stretch. And when it stretches, you don't get a good, you don't get a good registration.
Registration is how it fits on the piece of paper.
Right. If you're going to go on your plexiglass and paint it and do it more than one time, you have to make sure it's exactly in the same place. Or else, you've seen funny comics that on the Sunday paper, and they don't quite have it registered, and you got kind of double images. That's what happens. Doesn't look good.
Right. Okay. There's also a physical difference, another physical difference, in that you can use a rolling pin. Is that, or something equivalent?
They call it a brayer. They come in all sizes, and they're like a big rolling pin, but they're soft rubber, and they have some of them quite wide. So you can roll the ink on using the brayer, and you can remove some of the ink by putting some mineral spirits on, and then just rolling that, rolling the original ink off the plate, and you get a very interesting effect.
And it's less multiplicative than water-based?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what effect you're looking for. When I do that, I don't usually do multiple images, multiple rolls. I sometimes take it off and use an oil crayon to create more images on it, so I kind of rework it.
So even if you're going to be working with water-based ink in the future, you'd still basically enhance it with you could enhance it with oil-based markers or really any medium, correct?
Yes, you can put that over water-based ink, but if I use the oil-based, I couldn't use a water-based crayon.
I see, yeah, of course.
The two.
Okay, it's like the difference between acrylic and oil. Okay, Jackie, anything you'd like to add? Could you tell me maybe something about people you look at? I know you recently met Phillip Perlstein, who was a master of the American nude and an American institution after much friction with the rest of the art establishment. Do you admire painters like that tend to have been on the margins and then all of a sudden they're accepted? Do you?
I admired him for sticking to his guns and doing what he wanted to do without worrying about what was in style. And there are several artists, don't ask me to name them, that have done that, especially Boston artists. I think Hyman Bloom.
Hyman Bloom, yeah, sure.
And they always wanted to do figurative work, and they stuck to their guns. That's my phone.
Oh, that's your phone? Well, we'll shut this down for a sec. All right, now my second question is about Leda and her group. We all know the mythology that Leda and the swan was Zeus, I believe. It was Zeus? Yes.
Right.
Zeus masquerading as a
swan.
As a swan.
Right.
So you've sort of tweaked the story a bit, and you've replaced the narrative of the god impregnating Leda with, I dare say, a feminist view, but not necessarily. You've made the narrative about her rather than about him. And can you tell me about her group? What does that mean?
Well, her group is the fish, the dolphins, the mermaid that I needed to fill in the space. I just had this image of swans. I like things with wings on them. And I had seen pictures of swans, and it just kind of came to me slowly, oh, that would be nice to do Leda. And it took me 3 or 4 tries before I got Leda on the swan looking like she was being swept away. And then, like I said, I needed to fill in the space, so I added the fish and the dolphins and the mermaids.
And these would be appropriate animals given the Greek setting of the Aegean Sea and all that?
I didn't really think about how appropriate they would be, just if they filled in the space.
All right, well, I think they did their duty quite well. It's a fascinating piece. So thank you. I hope that wasn't too difficult. And I will edit a lot of this out. So.
Good.
Well, most